Well, this was unexpected. This was not planned, but feelings never are welcome to a Notsam Wrestling emergency podcast. And I could not think of a better reason for an emergency podcast than the fact that apparently CM Punk has joined Roman Reigns' bloodline for the purpose of the War Games. That is not a sentence that I necessarily thought that I would be saying at any point. I didn't think I would be saying it a year ago. I didn't really think I would be saying it a week ago, but it was an option that was brought up here on Notsam Wrestling on Monday morning when thinking about who that fifth man would be. Of course, the teases were, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins. So much is going on right now. I've had no time for analysis, but Notsam Wrestling emergency podcasts are not for analysis. They are for our feelings. And I am feeling. CM Punk was like a fantasy pick. Seth Rollins seemed like the pick. They were going to keep giving us reasons why it wouldn't be Seth Rollins until it would be Seth Rollins, even putting Seth Rollins' current rival Bronson Reed on the side of Solo Sikoa's bloodline. Even mentioning Seth Rollins' name tonight. WWE is not acting as if our wild speculation rule number 3 doesn't exist, because what else was mentioned in the Bloodline's locker room? Cody Rhodes. Of course, another name that kept coming up when we would have our conversations about who that fifth member of the Bloodline was going to be. Cody Rhodes' name came up. Now, for me, I felt like when the Kevin Owens story with Cody really started to move, it didn't make as much sense for Cody Rhodes to be on Team Bloodline, because number one, he'd be rubbing it in Kevin Owens' face, and number two, it would rope in a whole other story that, while it does, the foundation is Bloodline based, the result should have nothing to do with the Bloodline. And what do you have left? I had said on Not Sam Wrestling that the difference here is that with everybody that's on that roster, the reason that the Bloodline could not find a teammate was because of the terror that Roman Reigns had put everybody through. The reason that Kevin Owens is so upset with Cody Rhodes is because of how horrible Roman Reigns was. The reason Seth Rollins is so mad at Roman Reigns, even though Seth Rollins was the original person to turn on Roman Reigns, is because of what Roman Reigns did with his power when he had it. It's as simple as that. Why does everybody hate Roman Reigns? If Seth Rollins was the first one to turn on Roman Reigns, where does he get off hating Roman Reigns? All these people hate Roman Reigns because of what the 3.5 years of Roman Reigns as champion looked like in the WWE for everybody that wasn't named Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has said his goal is to get the power that he and his family had back. He said this into a microphone on the show, and we watched the product. I want to bring us back to where we were. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, should be Cody Rhodes, have an investment in Roman Reigns, not bringing his family back to where they were, because where they were was keeping everybody that wasn't Uso under this heavy thumb guided by the wise man Paul Heyman. Now, something that I said weeks and weeks and weeks ago here on Not Sam Wrestling is something that truly came to fruition tonight. This is why you got to listen to the podcast every single week, because I'm going to tell you what's going on weeks before they actually explain it straight up on television. When Roman Reigns got pinned by Solo Sikoa, when Team OG Bloodline lost to Team New Bloodline, there were people that said, well, why would you do that? Why? That doesn't make any sense. How could you do this? And I said that what we're witnessing is a reunion of the Bloodline, but it's the first time we're witnessing the Bloodline without strategy. It's the first time we're witnessing the Bloodline without a plan. And that's why they keep going to the ring, they keep dominating, and they keep getting outsmarted because they don't have a plan. Because the person that was making the plans was always the wise man, Paul Heyman. We don't know why Paul Heyman didn't have his phone connected last week. We don't know what was in Sami Zayn's pocket. We don't really have the answers to any of those questions. But nothing matters because attention has been diverted. We got the moment that I have been waiting for, the moment that I have been talking about since August. And I know I've been talking about it since August because when I interviewed Paul Heyman at Fanatics Fest, it was one of the things that I was thinking about. And we got a miniature reaction of that at Fanatics Fest when he interrupted to say, "Ladies and gentlemen," and I knew, and I'm sure most of you knew, that the minute that you hear that quote in that unmistakable voice echoed through the speakers of an arena once more, the only thing more impactful will be the sound that follows, which is the seismic cheers coming from the audience, and that's what we got in Salt Lake City. Just as Roman Reigns was about to explain, it's going to be a 4-on-5 match at War Games. Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa, Tongaloa, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, and Bronson Reed. Ladies and gentlemen, we're 2 SmackDowns away from Survivor Series. We thought by the time we got to Survivor Series, we'd see Paul Heyman back. We didn't know if it was going to be tonight. We didn't know if it was going to be next week. We didn't know if it was going to be in Vancouver at Survivor Series proper. But it was tonight. And let me tell you something. Paul Heyman has been sent. Maybe the reason that his phone was disconnected was because he doesn't want the roaming charges when he's out in Tulum or Turks and Caicos or wherever he's been spending his time. Because when Paul Heyman left television at the very beginning of the summer, he had probably aged 23 years since WrestleMania. In about 3 months, he aged 23 years. And while he was gone, maybe he was hanging out in wherever the Twin Pines Mall was. I forgot the city, Hill Valley. Maybe he was hanging out in Hill Valley. And he went over to Dr. Emmett Brown's house. And he said, "Hey, man, I was thinking, while I'm not on TV, let me ride in your DeLorean real quick. Because I want to send the old Paul Heyman back. I want to send the young Paul Heyman back. I want to send the spry Paul Heyman back." Maybe he was doing what my son was saying. Maybe he was hitting the gym, eating them chicken legs, that Mickey D's, but doing it in a way where it was protein focused. He might have been jacked, I don't know, but I'll tell you, not only was he tanned, looking like an Adonis in the tan, not only was his hair a youthful jet black, but he wasn't in a suit. He wasn't there to impress a boss. He was there to call the play himself. Jimmy Uso came back to Roman Reigns, and when he came back calling the play. "You called the play?" "Yeah, I did." That's what happened when Roman Reigns looked at him. "You called that play?" "Yes, I did." Jey Uso has been calling the play. He looked at Roman Reigns last week. He said, "I'll give you one. That was your one. Don't ever talk to me like that again." Sami Zayn is calling plays. "I'm going to go talk to this guy. I'm not waiting for permission. I'm going to go talk to that guy, not waiting for permission. I'm here to do what I'm here to do." And now Paul Heyman is calling plays. He comes out and he's wearing Bloodline black and red, but he's got the red T-shirt with the black suit over it, a look that we've never seen him rock with the Bloodline. And he says it's not going to be 4-on-5. That's not how you do a War Games match. It's going to be 5-on-5. And then for the first time since the night after Bad Blood and his Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre, CM Punk comes to the ring and without saying a word goes to battle for the Bloodline. And we have magical moment after magical moment, the goosebumps coursing up and down my arms. We see a spear and a go-to-sleep hit at the same time. Now, CM Punk just referencing Roman Reigns in what I believe was his second promo back in the WWE, that first SmackDown, right? He did Survivor Series last year, then he did a Raw where he just did his I'm back thing. Then he did a SmackDown where he went through calling people out by name. And he mentioned Roman Reigns then, and just CM Punk mentioning Roman Reigns was like, oh my God, can you imagine? To see CM Punk and Roman Reigns staring each other down, sizing each other up. And CM Punk looking at Roman Reigns going, this is what it is, this is what it's going to be. And Roman Reigns looking at CM Punk like, what on earth are you doing here? But I'm going to accept the help. That's the look that it looked like to me. Again, no analysis, just pure and utter feelings. And the thing that makes CM Punk somebody that makes more sense as a partner to that Bloodline than pretty much anybody else on the roster is that CM Punk wasn't in the WWE for Roman Reigns' reign of terror. CM Punk's first match on WWE television since leaving the WWE was Royal Rumble of this year. CM Punk was in the WWE for the last January, February, March. 3 months of Roman Reigns' title reign. He was unaffected in any way, shape, or form by the Bloodline. And by the way, for those 3 months, he was injured. He wasn't affected at all by the Bloodline. Nil. None whatsoever. While every other superstar that was on that potential list of getting picked to be on Team Bloodline at Survivor Series and all of them having different reasons to turn Roman Reigns down, CM Punk was elsewhere, dealing with other issues and being awarded other prizes. Last time CM Punk and Roman Reigns interacted, Roman Reigns was in the Shield. And by the way, the Shield was brought in to protect CM Punk. At first, the Shield has a history with CM Punk and Paul Heyman. In the very beginning, don't forget that. Here's the other thing. What did Paul Heyman say to Solo Sikoa after WrestleMania? There was only one promise, really. No, 2 promises. Number 1, Solo was just supposed to put Cody Rhodes in check, just get him ready for when Roman returns. 2, CM Punk is not to be touched as a favor to the wise man. CM Punk is not only the original Paul Heyman guy, and you can say, well, the original Paul Heyman guy is maybe Mean Mark, maybe it's the Dangerous Alliance and Steve Austin, maybe it's the Samoan SWAT team. Rikishi himself was a member of that team. The Usos' dad. Sure. But the person who coined the phrase Paul Heyman guy was a person who was sitting crisscross applesauce on the stage on an episode of Monday Night Raw, reminding everybody that the microphone in anybody else's hands was just a microphone, but in his hands, it was a pipe bomb. And he said, yeah, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. That resulted in T-shirts. That resulted in everything. Who's going to be the next Paul Heyman guy? Oh, this guy's a Paul Heyman guy. Now that guy's a Paul. What if we made him, and when we would wildly speculate as fans, what if so-and-so becomes a Paul Heyman guy? That's all CM Punk. That term comes from that moment. There's a connection. When Paul Heyman goes and accepts his Hall of Fame award, in the WWE Hall of Fame, Roman Reigns is the one who inducts him. Sure. And who's sitting in the front row? Paul Heyman's children and Paul Heyman's professional children. CM Punk is sitting in the front row next to Paul Heyman's kids. Everything counts. And this is real life. You know, I've seen some responses going, what do you think Paul Heyman promised CM Punk? And maybe something. Maybe if Roman Reigns were to win back the title, CM Punk gets the first shot. That's something we could find out later, right? Maybe that was the promise that Paul Heyman made to CM Punk. It could be a multitude of things. Maybe he promised his services to CM Punk whenever CM Punk... Could be. Or it could be that Paul Heyman just called his original protege on his other phone, because the Roman phone was disconnected, and said, hey, I need you to do something for me. And that's all it took. Possible. All of it is possible. But I'll tell you what. Who was most vehemently, because a lot of people turned him down. Obviously, Braun Breaker decided not to do it. He was approached. Rey Mysterio was approached. He obviously decided not to do it. LA Knight was approached. He obviously decided not to do it. Seth Rollins was approached multiple times. Seth Rollins decided not to do it. Kevin Owens can be mad at Cody Rhodes for teaming with Roman Reigns for all reasons that make perfect sense. But Seth Rollins couldn't have made it more clear that it hurts him in his heart. But he hates Roman Reigns and would never team with him. Who's the person that has stepped up in that spot to take the spot that was offered to Seth Rollins, that Seth Rollins said he couldn't take it because he cannot see Roman Reigns succeed? CM Punk. The person that Seth Rollins hates maybe as much as he hates Roman Reigns goes, Seth doesn't want Roman to succeed? I'll help Roman succeed. No problem. And if CM Punk helps that team win, how do you end War Games now? War Games last year ended with Seth Rollins' team winning and CM Punk taking that moment away. Nobody remembers the finish of last year's War Games match. No one. Everybody remembers what happened directly after the match. CM Punk returns, and Seth Rollins curses him out. What happens a year later at War Games? Once again, Seth Rollins' moment is taken away, or his potential moment, at the cost of everything that Seth holds dear. And it's done by the same guy who did it last year, CM Punk. Not only do you have all whatever reasons you have to dislike this guy, but now he's getting involved in your business to the extent that he is teaming with the guy that you refuse to team with because you don't want to see that guy succeed. Now, the guy that you hate is helping the other guy that you hate potentially win a match that will put him in the exact position that you don't want Roman to be in, which is right back in power. There are so many layers to this. Where does Paul Heyman stand? You know, the Bloodline still, the OG Bloodline, still doesn't seem like it's this stable that it once was, where we're going to be this group forever. We're formulating this group and this plan to survive one night. There's nothing about what's going on with the Bloodline right now that makes you go, oh yeah, and they know that the plan after Survivor Series is this, and then after that is this. No, this Bloodline that we're seeing here, they didn't know what they were doing tonight. And that's not the way the Bloodline acted a year ago. It's not the way the Bloodline was at the beginning of this year. But here we are. Does Paul Heyman stick around? He's not wearing a suit. He's wearing a T-shirt and a black... he's wearing a suit, but he's not wearing a shirt and tie. He's wearing a black suit and a red T-shirt. Are Paul Heyman's loyalties still to the Bloodline? Or is Paul Heyman ultimately seeing what every member of Roman Reigns' Bloodline is seeing? That yes, together we are stronger. However, we are also individuals. We also have individual goals. And the leader of this group proved that he did not have our best interests individually at heart. He was using all of us to attain as much power as humanly possible. So now as we reassemble this group, we all have individual goals. We are not all working towards making sure that Roman is great. We all have our own specific personal goals that we are trying to achieve, and we are doing it this way because we are stronger together. So what happens after? And does Paul Heyman feel that same way? Does Paul Heyman still have that undying love and support for Roman Reigns? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And the idea that we're going to see Roman Reigns and CM Punk on the same team, which only plants seeds for a future match between Roman Reigns and CM Punk, is so, like, the minute you see those two guys together and realize that it's all right there in front of you, you've got 2 years of stories right there in front of us. CM Punk coming in is like, this would never have happened in previous eras of the WWE. But we are in an era now where the stories that we as fans talk about are the stories that the WWE is telling. The details that we as fans pick up on are the details that the WWE is actually executing upon. There was a time where we would go, yeah, but I mean, CM Punk is a Paul Heyman guy. Paul Heyman and CM Punk go way back. And it would feel like the WWE would go, who remembers that? And we're going, I mean, well, we do, but I guess, okay. Now it's like, yeah, of course they do. That's why this makes sense. And it is this, that's what, for me, part of the goosebumps are that I get. Not just the fact that you get this huge payoff on this night. Not just the fact that we now are in this situation where you have made this match on paper, by the way, that is completely illogical. If I told you in September it's the Bloodline with CM Punk versus Solo's Bloodline with Bronson Reed, you'd go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But between SmackDown last week and SmackDown this week, it's the coolest thing ever because we've seen it. Because with a few specific deliberate steps, they've made it all make sense in a way that I think that we never realized it could make sense. It's cool, man. It's cool. We get this main event that is now bigger than ones that we had concocted in our heads. This main event leaves you going, oh, maybe we'll get the Usos back together. Oh, maybe Sami Zayn's back involved with Bloodline stuff. That's cool. Oh, maybe you're going to get a tease of Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. Maybe you're going to start to get hints of where Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa are going. Maybe this will add to the CM Punk Seth Rollins story. Maybe this will plant the seeds to a future match between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. This is all happening all at the same time. And the reason that it's all happening is because this story is being told in a way where if you started watching WWE at WrestleMania 40 and have only been watching for a few months and watch here and there, oh, I don't watch every episode of SmackDown, don't watch every episode of Raw, it's a lot of TV, but I watch most of it, then this was a huge moment. And if you've watched every minute of every show for the last 20 years, like some of us have, not going to say any names, then you are getting some of the biggest payoffs to these long-running stories that we could imagine. It's so cool, and they find a way to weave in this idea that CM Punk and Paul Heyman still have this history, as Paul Heyman has this history with the Bloodline, and those things intersect at the same time that they're maintaining the energy of CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And they're maintaining the energy of these other stories that are being told. All these stories are intertwined, but none of them are convoluted. And they all get you to each chapter. You realize at the end of the book that you've just read, but it's one of those great books where each chapter ends on a cliffhanger and you can't put it down. Maybe I've got a wrestling high. Maybe these feelings are just good feelings. But I thought we had to come here and talk about it. If you've watched the whole thing, probably are picking up on some of my articles of clothing. If you haven't watched it and you've just been listening, I would go over to YouTube and I will let you know that the Notsam merch store will be back open on Black Friday. One of my favorite merch drops that I've ever come up with, that me and the team at Triumph have ever worked on together. Probably, it's definitely my favorite merch drop. It might be my favorite merch drop we've ever done. Black Friday, Thanksgiving at midnight is when that'll go live. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Make sure you're subscribed across audio platforms. Make sure you're subscribed to youtube.com/NotSamWrestling. Leave a comment. Hit the like button. We'll see you on Monday for some heavy-duty analysis. Talk then.